And you still have those wonderful arms. This is so neat because you're still retaining all of this, and so we can build on it. Great tray, open to the side, or passe.
You can see me bite my lip though.
No, your face looked good. I didn't see it was very, very concealed. I'm so glad that you kept on dancing. You're so lovely then, and you're still lovely, and this is very exciting. All kinds of, they just come like movies in your head, all these memories.
Okay.
This was Elise's, and she said, "This is one that
There's a cute little tutu.
Into the leotard and tights. Yes. And it was a big yard. And we did performances in the side yard because the audience that we managed to corral could come and sit on the cement walk that went by the house and look on the grassy area in front of our house, and that was the backdrop, and then we could make up dances. Oh yes, every minute. It seemed like all the time. I must have been somewhere before 5 because I was already dancing. I did everything a little older, and so I remember the MacPhail. And Mother took me down there. There was piano that they had the expertise in, but that was available where they taught kids dance and reachable and all that. So I remember the little white pinafores that we had with the little red trim. Sweet memories there. So we went to the backyard and we went to the side yard and we went to the park, and then we rode our bikes around and roller skated up and down. But out of that came, I guess that was choreography. I was making up those dances. 16, 17, 18, 19, right in there. I was nurse's aide, discovered Nancy Hauser and Maria Farah, and then Nancy Hauser invited me to be, if I wanted, in her perform group. And I didn't quite understand what she was saying. I thought she just wanted, I was coming to see if I could take class. Uh-huh. And when I realized it, I was on the bus on the way back. I got off the bus, and there was a phone phone thing. They had it right in the corner in those days, and I called her up and I said, "Did you really mean that?" And she said yes, and she was laughing, inviting me to be part of her performing. So actually, I had forgotten Warren Rude that he actually did choreograph something on me, a long piece that was mechanical. You know, the music was tick tock, and he counted it out, count by count. And I wore white. I've got pictures. They're here somewhere. White leotard, and then these long streamers, white developed from the some Oriental dance where they were doing that kind of thing. So he had me walking around in this rhythm, up on my toes and waving the white cloths to this very mechanical music, which I learned. But that's not my way, you know. But I did learn it, and so it was interesting. We went in the summer of love to San Francisco. My former husband went to play the sitar for the summer. Everybody went there. Of course, I went there, not for sitar, but to take the bus to San Francisco and study there, taking class with the San Francisco Ballet. It was wonderful. When I was in San Francisco, I was getting all these lovely letters from students saying, please come back and teach us. And I was getting very nice letters from him saying, the students don't like me, but, or you know, just I'm paraphrasing it, but they do like you. He said, if you teach them, then I will pay you for the students. And then I forget if I said for him not to come into the studio or not, but he promised. He said verbally, I will stay out of the studio all the time that you're in it, and I will pay Mr. Stocking for the student's rent, studio rent. And I will pay you a very minute, but I didn't really care because I just loved the opportunity of it and you know, total freedom of being able to teach the students. So I thought, okay. So I did that. So he backed me for the whole school year, during which that's when I discovered that I loved to teach. Well, I already knew that, discovered that, but to choreograph also. I just, during the event of making up the dance, I discovered I'm choreographing and I love doing it. So we did that at the end of the school year. We sat down and amidst the debris, you know, and he talked things over with me and he said he was pleased and he wanted to know then if I would like to take over the school. It was already mine, he said. You know, you've built it, but do you want to just take it over and continue? That would mean you'd have to pay the rent, take on all the expenses, advertising, you know, and but so I said I would really need to think about that. So I went home and thought about it and called him later that night. And so the card I found, and I think that he was there because there's no postage on it. So he must have, but he didn't appear in person. But the card, the picture is here, and it says, Karen, thanks for a job well done, Warren. And so here I have this that that he did for me, this man that did, and he met his inability to teach and encourage people, but he caused that to happen for me, even though he couldn't do it. And so this, to me, is like a miracle. My beginning was all I really wanted to do. I said to my mother, yes, I want to go to the university, but first I would really like to have a year off and dance. I loved working with that music, just loved it. And someone brought that album in to me and gave it to me, and they left, everybody left, and I was there, and it was night, and it was snowing. And I put on that music, and the whole thing, and I went through that whole thing absolutely hypnotized, and I could see, looking out into the blizzard, I could see all the dances that I wanted to do, you know, and I just loved it. So then there it was. Somehow it was in my mind, and there were dancers out there, and no audience. Nobody had ever heard of me. I had never heard of myself even, you know. And so I began it, and I just went according to put the dances on the people who could at their level, and made it so that it would be a little bit more so that they would advance as they worked on the work that they were working on. And I was just lost for that whole. You know, it was just a fabulous experience. All of you that were in
that studio on 7th and Hennepin, I just, there was so much light in the plants. and the big high ceilings and that grand piano that was on one side of the studio. And it was a really good, that part of town, it was a really good test in concentrating and focusing despite the distractions of fire engine sounds and police sirens and all the nonsense that was going on Hennepin Avenue.
We were in class, and we were working on something that had pirouettes in it, and we came to the pirouette part, and they had right outside the door, downstairs, a terrific crash. So all the students rushed to the windows and looked down, and but if I can just think of her name, had just done 4 pirouettes. She was working on her pirouettes. She had just done her, so she didn't hear it. She was so, you have to focus, you know. So they were all over there looking down, and she was saying, "I did 4 pirouettes." You know, she was so thrilled, and I was, you know, excited too. So, concentration, you know, the ability to concentrate.
Well, I'm Ruth Davini, and that was 20 or 21 years ago that I met Karen, and I'm still dancing. But I came at it from a little different perspective in terms of performance. Because she was talking about how she taught, and I said, "Oh, do you teach adults?" "Oh, yes," she taught adults. And I thought, that sounds good. But then I had to ask this burning question, the game changer: do you make them perform? Because I really wasn't that interested in performing. And so she said, "Well, you know, we might perform in a nursing home." And her mother was in a nursing home at the time, I remember. And I thought about that, and I thought, well, maybe if they can't see too well or they can't hear, maybe I could do that. You know, I, as she said, I hadn't had the opportunity to study ballet, but I was always so taken by the beauty of what a beautiful art form that ballet was. And we've danced through many personal challenges in those 20 years, haven't we?
We have.
So we just keep dancing.
I was a song and dance girl in musicals and wanted to take ballet to learn the rudiments of dancing. And I did briefly take a class for a quarter, and it was huge. There were over 30 people in the class, and the teacher was quite good, but she was supposed to teach adults all of the steps of ballet, and she was controlled by the management, and they wanted the adult dancers to understand what they were watching when they went to ballet performances. So we first learned how to do all the positions in the first class. In the second class, we started moving and doing grand jetés. Well, needless to say, my knees were a little sore at the end of that quarter, and I thought, I don't think I can take ballet. And I ran into my instructor at Dayton's, which is the old Macy's in downtown Minneapolis. And she said, "Oh, I wish you would have kept on with ballet." And I said, "Well, my knees started hurting, and I don't think I'm doing it very well." And she recommended Karen Glover across the street. She said she fixes injured dancers, and she works very well with adults who have never had any experience. And I loved it. I was absolutely hooked. And she went very carefully and slowly and patiently with all of us to make sure we knew how to move our bodies safely. And I'm a healthcare professional, and that's very important to me to stay healthy. So
I was first introduced to Karen in 1972 by a friend of mine, Diane Hunt, who bought me my first pair of tights because she said they need male dancers at City Lights Ballet. So and just doing the exercises. So I learned from her just to concentrate, and I started to like ballet because I didn't have to speak. You know, it was easy to just do the movements and build my body, and learn all the different movements. And I think one of the major things I learned was the process of ballet and being instructed by Karen is, well, you're in yourself and you're listening to music and doing these exercises. And it's all about listening. You can hear
Specialness of having people come in without any ballet at all and stay with me for a long period of time, and then do so well that I could choreograph and they could perform. So amongst the people here, I'm just so grateful that they are here, and I feel that I have learned so much from them working with me about just people that are good in the world, you know, because I'm not necessarily good in the world, you know, I just hardly, I don't function quite that well, but I try to learn from the people that are.
Karen really knows how to work with old, you know, at 34 I thought I was pretty old to dance, but she really worked with me and then took the time to slowly go through a lot of the steps in preparation. It was very accessible to learning how to dance. And I've also definitely, my body from dancing with her, I've definitely worked muscles that I've never worked before, even in traditional workouts. You use different muscles, and I feel like I walk straighter. I just carry myself a little bit differently, you know, after working with her.
Kevin Kling, who is a gifted storyteller and frequent visitor to NPR, describes the difference between cure and healing. And he said, when you are cured, you go back into your life in the same shape that you went in. But in healing, you are changed. You evolve into a new shape, and you enter life with a new perspective. And that's what I feel has happened, I think, with your ballet and support. I have become a new form, and I'm living life from a different perspective, but one of gratitude.
I had reached a point where in my life where I really wasn't doing anything, and I didn't want to do anything. I just had lost interest in practically everything. But my daughter, my oldest daughter, knew that when I was young I had done ballet, but I wasn't actually doing it anymore. And after 50 years, Karen took me on and tried to do something with this very out of shape body. But I felt like, well, Karen is the most encouraging person in the world. So she took what she got, what she had with me, and tried to do something with it. And I always feel in class like, you know, I'm making progress. She's noting that progress, and she's encouraging me. And
I always feel like you are watching us to make sure we are safe and we don't have problems with our bodies because of our exercising, the way that we're moving our bodies, because positioning is so key to the whole thing. If your skeleton is in the right position, your muscles work in the way that they're supposed to. She does not make you feel bad about not doing it right. She encourages you to move your body in the way that you are able to. We appreciated it, and I've been dancing with Karen for over 40 years, and I've not had any serious problems with any of my joints.
And so the awesome beauty, you know, I mean, I'm so proud of you.
That you can manage a class and, you know, encourage those dancers who just have minor tweaks, and then I have major tweaks, but you know, that we're both getting the same amount of time and encouragement from you.
About 8 years ago, I especially appreciated Karen's support and her presence in my life up until that time when I was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. And that was a very terrifying experience for me because I was so concerned about losing my mobility. And my neurologist said, you know, I'm not telling you to slow down. It's important to keep moving. And he said, flowing water never freezes. And I love that image. So I kept coming to ballet through all of that. And Karen was positive, not only, you know, working to help me maintain, but always for improvement. You know. So it's just been an amazing transformation to be able to share this. So not only does Karen share her gifts, she passes it on to us, and then we are able to share with other people. So it's amazing how this City Ballet organization is out in the world, by each person living what they can do in their little corner of the world.
To know that she hasn't changed a bit. She's still walking on air.
Well, thank you for that.
Dancing on air. I should
Dancing
say.
on air.
I got to know a part of myself that I don't know if I would have known that without the dance. But the dance was mine.
That's all I wanted to do, and from that, step by step, all of these things just grew, and I followed the dance, you know, so, and I'm still following it.
Can I go get your skirt? What? Can I go get your skirt?
Get the